topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Are you a songwriter? Are you looking to turn your songwriting passion into a full-time gig? Whether you are just at the start of your songwriting journey or a seasoned industry professional, this show is made for you. Welcome to the Songwriter Show, bringing together songwriting news, interviews, and community. Now, welcome your host, Sarantos.
Thank you for tuning in again, and I welcome you back to the Songwriter Show. I'm your host, Sarantos, a solo music artist who's been writing lyrics for as long as I can remember. Words are very important to me, and that's why I'm thrilled to host this show. I strongly believe that every single song is a story. The Songwriter Show is broadcast live on number one ranked W4CY Radio with listeners in all 206 countries in the world and every state in the U.S. The station is also licensed with ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, Sound Exchange, and with partnerships throughout the music industry, including iHeartRadio, and exposure to over 300 million listeners.
And now, welcome this week's special guest.
Aaron was inspired by the big rock sound of the 70s and 80s and rock stars like David Lee Roth and Freddie Mercury, and dynamic bands like Van Halen, Kiss, and Def Leppard. Love Stallion is charging onto the music scene with the original glamorous hard rock. The band's high-energy live performances, flamboyant wardrobes of sequins, spandex, and leather, and their signature sexy disco legs have placed Love Stallion in the spotlight among Denver's hottest tickets. Welcome to the show, Aaron. How are you doing tonight?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing very well, man. I'm reading your bio, and I know we talked a little bit ago, but I read Freddie Mercury, Def Leppard. I mean, these are bands that I love too, man. So it's kind of cool. I think since we last talked, it sounds like you guys have kind of kept climbing the charts. I hear you got a new music video coming out.
Yeah, we actually just released our second single music video, Big Rock Radio, came out November 30th, and been getting a lot of play with that. And then we're going to be releasing our third music video single called Valentine, January 24th. So just a couple weeks before Valentine's Day, get people in the mood. Yeah,
Valentine's definitely is going to be a highlight in February. So that's a very cool. What inspired that song?
So Valentine was based on a kind of a Valentine's Day date turned fantasy, infatuation. And when I wrote it, I originally wrote it on the piano, and I'm actually releasing that on piano on Valentine's Day. But yeah, just kind of wanted to write. We wanted to have a ballad on the record and something with some of that thick nostalgic vibe, kind of like Love Bites, Def Leppard sort of thing. So we just got done filming that and stoked to get that out too.
Yeah, Love Bites is one of my favorite songs, so that's really cool to hear. So you're still touring out of Denver? Is that still your main hub?
Yeah, we're hoping to get out across the US hopefully this coming fall, do some Midwest, Southwest, maybe California, but we're got next Saturday night, January 19th, open up for Steel Panther here in Denver at the Fillmore. So that'll be our biggest show to date and getting ready for that. So pretty stoked.
Wow. How many people you think show up to that?
I think capacity is 36 or 3,900, and they usually almost sell it out. So we're hoping that we help them sell it out this year. We've got a pretty good crowd coming. So a lot of fun.
That's really cool. Remind our fans and listeners again about your performances, how you got into your signature, spandex, leather, all that kind of stuff.
So, we actually took the name Love Stallion just about 2 years ago, but we were, our favorite bands, Kiss, Def Leppard, Van Halen, David Lee Roth, Freddie, they just had a ton of fun with the outfits. And, when we started, we were kind of similar to Queen's story, just kind of wearing all white and, more of an experiment and just had an excellent response. And we just kept adding and throwing in some crazy stuff, and that's how we got here today. It's kind of like Halloween and create your own fantasy rock star world. So it took some years to get here, but I finally feel like we've really settled into a good groove.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear, man. It's amazing how every overnight success has been working hard at it for 10 years, right?
Yeah, the overnight success that's not a thing.
Yeah, I agree with you. What when you write these new songs, do you ever use the live performance to try to gauge on, if a song will take before you put on an album?
Yeah, we had a few other songs that didn't make the record, and we even scrapped from live. But I think we knew kind of going in after we were done writing them that they needed a rewrite, and I think we told ourselves we were demoing them live. But I think a lot of artists know when they bring that live that it's not truly their best work, or they want that on the record. And we kind of let those all go. We might come back to them, but we want something that really, really energizes us first. And then if that happens, we know the crowd will take to it as well.
Yeah. It seems like you're very heavy on the performance. What excites you more? Is it a live show or sitting down and writing a song at this point in your career?
Man, that's a good question. I love it all. I think you need all of it to keep the balance and keep it fresh for all quadrants. But, with so much live performance going on and pumping out videos and all that sort of thing, writing gets a little bit tougher because you got so much going on. You got a lot of, no pun intended, bandwidth eaten up by everything going on. So, I'm looking forward to getting back writing just to add some more to the catalog for when we get on the road. But, I can't say I have live. Certainly live. Live's the biggest rush.
Yeah, for sure, right? You guys been in any competitions or anything like that?
Yeah, we've done, we did a Battle of the Bands here at Herman's Hideaway in Denver. It's called Best of the West for a couple years. And we'd get to the second, I think we got to the second round a couple times, or maybe third. I think we got to the third round in one year, but it's always tough because, you could be on a cold winter night and it's snowing and you never know how many people will show up. And we kind of relied more on just slow, steady, solid foundation stuff and haven't relied too much on that sort of thing.
Yeah. So I promised myself I was not going to forget to ask you this. I think last time we talked about Last Man Standing a little bit, but I've been watching a show on Netflix called The Ranch, which is based in Denver. Have you seen that at all?
I haven't.
It's hilarious. It's with Ashton Kutcher and Sam Elliott. And it's the ranch life, and a bunch of John Elway references and jokes. And I think it's like the pride of Denver, but I definitely think you should check it out, man.
I did see that when I was scrolling through. I think it was on Netflix, but all right, sure. It's
been in my queue for like a year and a half, and I finally got around to watching it. I'm on season 5. It's great.
All right, I'll have to see how much real Colorado there is.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about, what's your main instrument? What do you write songs with? Is it lyrics? Is it the melody? Is it the guitar, the piano? Where do you start?
Let's see. Good question. Before Love Stallion, I kind of had my own singer-songwriter project. So I'd be on acoustic, I could be on electric or piano. So I kind of jumped around. This last record, we'd start a lot of the tunes with Rob on the guitar, starting the riff. For this new stuff, I've been focusing more on electric guitar. I rarely touch my acoustic anymore. Sometimes piano. I usually get more into the piano with more downtime, but mostly electric guitar these days.
Okay. What's the weirdest thing that's happened to you at a live show?
Weirdest thing that happened at a live show. Let's see. We opened for LA Guns at Herman's Hideaway in early December, and they were, staying real strict to the set times. And after the last, I mean, it was like the Everything Gone Wrong show. The sound guy didn't turn our stuff on until the first, we're into the first song. They cut our set.
Man.
We had like 18 and a half minutes. So we cranked out 4 songs. So we did this big, massive setup and then for 4 songs. And we had even had, photographers and video out. And so, but I guess not so much weird, but that's something that sticks out is you just never know what you're going to get for the night.
Yeah. All that effort, man. That's a bummer. There's nothing more disappointing.
Yeah, that's part of it, though. It's part of the whole thing, part of the fun.
What's the most interesting, what's the funnest day for you nowadays?
Funnest day?
Yeah, what day of the week did you really look forward to?
Man, I'd have to say Sundays are pretty fun. We, usually I don't have any lingering work stuff. We often do rehearsals Sunday. It's kind of my day off, and I usually set aside some time to write. So just kind of me with my guitar and getting some writing done. Got a view of the Capitol here in Denver. So, that's my happy place.
All right, that's cool. How often you try to write? You try to write like every day, once a week, on Sundays?
I try. I mean, gosh, when things get busy, that's the first thing to go out the window. But I was for a while there. You try to schedule it in, and it's hard to schedule creative time. So, it just goes through seasons. Be heavy seasons of, let's say, performing or rehearsing and writing. But it's kind of all over the board. Okay.
Any recent books you've read that took your fancy that you want to share with the fans?
Any books? I'm actually middle of Phil Collin, lead guitarist for Def Leppard, getting through his autobiography. Super interesting, man. It's really cool to listen to the whole journey, especially the time of Hysteria, which, one of the greatest records of all time, but how they spent $5 million on that. And they kind of sputtered. They only kind of recouped $3 million. And then that was before Pour Some Sugar was picked up in Florida by the strippers. And it's funny. It's interesting to hear after they just crushed it with Pyromania and everything going on. And just the way I look back and just see them as total legends, that they were, just like many bands had, just kind of like a crisis of, are we going to survive and that sort of thing. And everyone seems to think, these legends just kind of, it happened and it's, it's a smooth ride once you hit big, and it's nowhere near that.
Yeah. Ain't that the truth, man? I think I've been to like 6 Def Leppard concerts, and I remember how crushed I was when he got into that accident and lost his arm. And then he came back, and it was like such an inspirational story.
That band has survived so much. I mean, with Rick's arm, with Steve Clark's passing, and then Viv had cancer. He was out for a couple years there. So I mean, those guys really have pushed through. Even the '90s when it was anti heavy metal and glam rock, and I've seen them. Gosh, 3-4 times at least, once front row, and they still got it, man.
Yeah, totally. What's your earliest musical memory that you remember?
Earliest musical memory. So I was, who knows, 5, 6, 7. My parents had gotten a piano for us, and of course then forced us to learn piano. But my dad used to spin, so I got into music pretty young. My dad used to spin, Beach Boys vinyl, and my younger brother and I used to get up on the fireplace. That was our stage, and we'd rock the air guitar pretty hard to fun. And that's kind of my first like memory of wanting to do the whole, with the live albums and stuff, wanting to do the whole rock and roll thing.
Yeah. Who would you want to jam with? What musician, dead or alive?
Oh man, this changes every month because I'd have to say in this day and age, I'm just blown away by Satchel from Steel Panther from his writing. His writing is just blows my mind. I mean, I of course love Steve Clark and Eddie Van Halen, and that stuff is brilliant. It's so cool to see kind of the modern day band like that cranking out a dozen new riffs every year or two for their records, and I just don't see that from a lot of the greats that are, they kind of have their best of albums out and still playing those, not churning out a lot of new material. But I think he's just a fresh face and fresh sound to the genre, and he's just absolutely hilarious too.
Okay. What's the best career advice you ever got from someone?
Oh man. Best career advice. Well, my parents told me not to do music, so maybe that was the best one, because that just made me want to do it all the more. It was kind of a don't do music, you won't make any money in music, but maybe they weren't anticipating the age of the technology age where you could create income elsewhere and still do the music thing.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about where can our fans find out information about you? Where can they buy your music?
Best place is lovestallionrocks.com. That's our website. You can buy, our record. We came out in June called Unforgettable Ride. We've got T-shirts, koozies, bandanas, all sorts of stuff, and then links to Instagram and Facebook. So that's where we keep most of our photos pumping.
All right, Aaron, tell us about the song we're going to hear right now. What inspired it?
Big Rock Radio. So this is kind of a throwback vibe. The music video's got, we've had a Nissan 300ZX, just, cruising down the highway, a live show performance, that whole thing. But it's kind of a throwback to the heyday of rock and roll in the 80s. And we wanted a big, meaty guitar riff and crowd participation, all that stuff. But, just remembering, you hear that one song on the radio that you want to just keep hearing and cranking up in your car and thinking about your current crush and going to the rock and roll show. So wanted to give a real good raw, rock and roll anthem to the people.
Is this your favorite song to play live? Does it really bring the crowd to its feet?
Yeah, this is definitely one of the most fun to play. Pretty much all the reviews, everyone who listens, this is their fave. So, super fun to play, and stoked to get the video out in front of a few more people.
Okay. And when's your next performance that you're telling us about, just for the fans?
Next Saturday, January 19th, we're at the Fillmore Auditorium here in Denver. We go on at 8:30, and we get to meet our rock and roll heroes.
That's cool, man. All right. Anything else you want to share with the fans before we listen to your song here? We got about a minute.
Yeah, I'd say check us out on YouTube. We got a YouTube channel too with all of our videos. We even did a making of, which is about 20 minutes, making of the Big Rock Radio video. Absolutely hilarious. One of our good, the videos were done by Arcadian Pictures, and then Exist Media did the behind the scenes. Interesting to watch because I was, had my head in the clouds the whole weekend of filming, but super funny and, kind of demystifies the whole thing as well. So super fun watch, but people can check that out on YouTube. Search Love Stallion and check us out.
Okay. And then lastly, how do you guys in your band, is there an alpha? Do you guys kind of vote equally, or how does that work for you?
Yeah, I say it's a democracy, but I'm also the dictator. So right. I'll listen to everyone. I'll weigh, I'll consider everyone's advice, but I make the final decision.
All right. Well, I read Bruce Springsteen's biography, and he was like that too. So he did pretty well. So I think you'll do pretty well too.
I hope so.
All right, Aaron, we're going to listen to your song now, Big Rock Radio.
Cool. Thanks, man.
All right, here we go.
One, two,
songwritershow.com. Your destination for songwriting news, interviews, and community.
So now we're going to introduce our second guest, Ethan Hall. Ethan is a 16-year-old singer, songwriter, and instrumentalist. He started his music study at age 3, learning to play the violin. Along with continuing his studies of the violin, Ethan has further expanded his studies, teaching himself piano, guitar, and vocals. He wrote his first song at age 15 and has since continued. Ethan is always working on new music for his followers. Welcome to the show, Ethan.
Hey, man. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. So the burning question, you're 16, correct?
Yeah, I am 16.
Wow. So tell me a little bit about, you must have, some people think it's easy when you're young. Some people think you have a whole lot of pressure on you, but I see both sides to it. What do you think is the biggest challenge you have being 16 in the industry?
The biggest challenge, I've always done music, so I haven't really had a life or any point in my life where I haven't done it. So I guess the hardest thing for me, is you do have some sort of pressure on you when you're younger because you're experiencing stuff for the first time. So for me, it was stage performance, but for other people, it might be different. That's just what it was for me.
Sure. Do you look at stories like, classic stories like One Direction and some of these other things and kind of, it can change on a dime. Is that something you aspire to? Does that kind of motivate you?
Yeah, it motivates me how 1 second you can go from being somebody who's got talent but not really discovered, and then the next moment you could hit big. I think that's amazing to me how quickly stuff can change.
Yeah, it really can. Do you have any musicians you admire that you want to share with the fans?
Yeah, I have quite a bit. My all-time favorite artist and writer is Chris Martin from Coldplay. I love his style, and I perform a lot of his covers on my page, and I just absolutely love Coldplay's music. I also like Justin Bieber quite a bit. I like his style and his version of pop, and I think he brings a lot to the table music-wise.
Okay. What, if you could, when you sit down and write a song, do you do lyrics first, music first? Tell us about your process a little bit.
So for my music writing, there will be random times where I'll just be doing something completely random, like basketball or just going throughout my day, and I have a melody in my head, and then I start to sing lyrics to it. And then once I feel like I get those lyrics pretty good, I go to the piano, and then I try to find like some chords that I can use.
Okay. And what do you do from there? How do you decide if it's something you're going to work on or if it's something that's going to go on the scrap heap?
So basically what I do from there is with my chord progressions, I try to see if it's something that if I'm able to relate to it. Like if I've had previous experience with this topic, or if I have some sort of relation to better get an emotion to it, I think that's the best way for me to write my music.
Okay. And what do you do once you do that? Do you have people help you do guitars? You have people help you mix? Do you do everything yourself? Tell us about that.
So for my pop music, which is what I have on iTunes right now, I also have acoustic music coming out soon. I have an album coming where I'm just playing piano. But for my pop music, I'm not very talented in the beat making area. So I do have a producer, and he helps me with mixing and all my beats and everything. And then I write all the lyrics, and I also find features for people to feature on the music. So it's pretty fun.
Okay. What kind of advice would you give someone if you saw a 14-year-old, at some gig? What kind of advice would you give them about the industry?
Just don't give up, because stuff will get tough. There's going to be moments where it's going to be hard to write music. People might not like your style at one moment. Everything is it's different each day, and it can only get better.
Yeah, that's great advice, man. I think a lot of people give up way too easy. It's a long journey. You look at people like Taylor Swift, and she put many, many years into it, and obviously a lot of money, but it takes time.
It really does.
Yeah. What kind of mistakes have you made in your career that you want to warn other songwriters or fans to avoid?
That's a good question. one of my mistakes I've made is, which ties into my advice, is I have given up at some points, but I've come back from it. There was this one point in my career where I gave up and stopped making music for about 3 months, and I realized how much I missed it. And then when I came back, my career started turning a lot different. It started like gaining tremendously in my audience. And then along with that, also just don't sell yourself short, because you never know your true potential unless you do it.
Yeah. It's tough to keep putting out music, and it's to be consistent. And I look at someone like Ed Sheeran. He signed off of social media. He went on vacation. He totally forgot about stuff for a bit and then came back stronger than ever. So it's, I don't know what the correct way is. I see both sides to it.
Yeah, it's crazy how stuff works sometimes.
Yeah. How do you respond to the backup plan question? Not just you're 16, but I think all artists at some point, you tell people you want to be a rock star or a musician. They look at you like, are you serious? But at your age, what do you do when people ask you that?
I actually get asked this one quite a bit, especially like my parents, obviously. So
yeah.
When I'm looking towards college, because I'm a junior in high school right now, I'm having music as more of a hobby. So I still keep it up to date and I focus a lot on it, but I also make sure that my academics are doing tremendously well, because I hope to have a career in whatever I do in college, but have music as a hobby. And if music takes off, that's great. If not, then I just continue the path I was going down.
Okay. What's the funnest thing to do there in Kansas?
The funnest thing for me is two things. I love performing. Performing is absolutely fun to me. Just making people smile and have a good time and just enjoy music together. I love doing that. And I also love just creating music and releasing it, because in my school, like, everybody gives me such great feedback and has all this advice for me. And I just love hearing people like come back with their thoughts. I love that.
Okay. When you look at the career advice that I'm sure everybody's given you, what's the best advice you received? What's the worst advice you received?
The best advice I have received is, that's also tricky. There's so much good advice I've been given.
You could give us the top 3 or something if you want. That makes it easier.
So the best one I've been given is, don't give up on your dreams and what you hope to achieve. Because if you do not hope to achieve anything or have a goal, then you don't have a set path at where you're going. You're just kind of going all over the place. You need to be more organized with how you do things in order to get a faster result or just to see progress. I haven't really received any bad advice.
Well, you're very lucky then, my friend. What's your spirit animal?
Oh, probably, this is going to sound silly, but a flying squirrel.
Flying squirrel. Okay, why?
Just the fact that a flying squirrel is able to, it's so small, but yet it can go so many places. And also it's kind of majestic in the way that it just like goes throughout the air. I think that's pretty cool. Okay,
that's fair. What song is burning up your playlist right now that you just can't stop listening to?
My favorite song right now is, it's not super old, but it's a pop song. It's Let Me Love You by Ne-Yo.
Yeah. Okay. That's a cool song.
Yeah, I love that type of music.
Yeah. Tell the fans a little bit about what you were like when you were a freshman in high school. Were you shy? Were you nervous? Were you introverted? Were you a jock? What was your stick there?
So my freshman year in high school was a big one for me. I was really, really awkward. Just my personality's changed so much. I've never really been shy. I've been putting myself out there, but I just did it in a way that was kind of embarrassing. Now to look back at it, I was just making weird and awful like social choices and just stuff like the way I would dress and stuff. But like I don't know. My music has changed a lot my freshman year because my freshman year was the main point where I started to sing, because back then I had no vocal capability at all, and I quite honestly about gave up to there because I was trained at violin. I was not taught anything else. In my freshman year, I decided I want to do more, so I expanded it with teaching myself guitar, piano, and then I also started to sing, and I kept singing, and I noticed such big changes in my voice, and I started to like it.
Yeah. Oh man, you were hitting puberty. I mean, my God, that's a big change.
Yeah.
You got hormones flying everywhere, so you got to hang in there, buddy. It's all going to get better. Tell me a little bit about how often do you write? Do you try to write, every day? Do you try to write once a month? What's your purpose with writing?
That's tricky because I write probably about twice or once a week on the weekends, like typically a Sunday or a Saturday night. Sometimes after school if I have a melody stuck in my head. But some of these songs I don't release, obviously, and I try to get a song out as much as I can, but it's hard keeping up with everything. But I try to write whenever I can or I have a melody in my head.
Okay. What's the craziest thing a teacher ever asked you to do?
Just sing on the spot. I was kind of off put by that. I didn't expect you to have me just sing.
Did you sing?
Yeah, I sang. I was just put off by it.
Yeah, I was at, I don't know if you know the Taxi Music Conference. I was there a couple of years ago, and if you get your CD picked back then, a bunch of music supervisors or important people would listen to it, and the player wasn't working. So the person who got picked actually had to stand up and sing in front of a room full of people, and she belted it out. She was awesome. And that took a lot of guts, man. So you got to be ready to sing anytime, any place, I guess.
That's true.
So the last question I'm going to ask you, I like to ask our guests this because, again, we're a community of songwriters. The fans listening want to know about our process, but there's so much scam in the music industry. So tell us about a scam that's happened to you or one you've heard about, just so we can all educate each other and try to avoid garbage like that.
Obviously, one of the biggest scams I've been seeing around being on Spotify and all these new platforms is people selling fake plays and just stuff like that, like not real, genuine followers. I mean, I get why people might do it, but personally, I think it's a great way to set yourself up for a bad reaction because these people, or they're typically computers, and it's like a waste of money because it doesn't help you gain anywhere or any benefits in your music other than the fact that there's a number now in your song versus a person who actually enjoys your music and experience it and stays with you.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think, this is my 6th year doing this. And when I first started, I, like everyone else, you fall for these things. You're like, oh, that, and you're right. It gets you nothing. It doesn't get you fans. It doesn't get you engagement. It actually makes you look weird because then people look at these numbers and they say, well, why haven't I heard of this guy? But I think that's a great point, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's challenging sometimes.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think the other problem in the music industry is you don't know who to trust. All the big artists, labels will spend a couple million a song to promote it, market it, but they got all the right channels. If you wanted to promote your YouTube video, your Spotify playlist, that's the hardest thing. You don't know the right channels, where to put that money to good use. And then obviously, as an indie artist, we don't really make a profit. So there's all these factors that go into it.
Yeah, that's so true. Just knowing what you're getting yourself into, especially with every decision, because everybody wants to do so well in music that they can be blindsided by what's actually happening in front of them. So that's how you can get scammed the easiest.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, tell us a little bit about your website or where fans can buy your music and find out information about you.
All right. So I'm on all platforms, such as all digital platforms like iTunes, Spotify, YouTube. I just made a YouTube channel. I'm on SoundCloud. I'm pretty much on everything. You can search up my name. I'm Ethan Hall. And then on Instagram, I'm Ethan Hall Music with no spaces or anything, just Ethan Hall Music altogether.
Okay. And then Ethan, tell us about this song we're going to listen to now. What inspired it?
So like most 16-year-olds or teenagers, it's a song about a relationship that did not go well. So I tried that out, and yeah, it's about this relationship that obviously didn't go well. And I just felt like writing about it because it was something big in my life at that moment. I was like, I need to get this out of my system. So I just got it out of my system, and I turned it into something that people can enjoy.
All right. Why don't you introduce the song for us, and then we're going to hear it.
All right. This is Games featuring 515.
All right, Ethan. Have a great night, and thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
All right. Here we go.
Girl, why you trying to cause some love this pain when all I ever did in life was just to love you and love you and love you? You saying all I ever did you harm, but all I ever did in life was just to love you and love you. Down, make me drown, play my sound. Yeah, there is those certain things that cross your mind and make you think you're in my head. I need another drink. I was trying to play it safe, but my feelings run a race. I shouldn't never show up to the tape. Maybe I'll be happy to this day until my hair is gray, but I'll die young. I tuck my gray. And I know you're going to hurt me. Why you cause such a controversy? 513. Why you coming out my life like this? Trying to right my wrongs, yeah, please don't trip. Yeah, saying that you love me after we kissed, then your ex came to town. You just couldn't get a grip. Why you trying to cause some love this pain when all I ever did in life was just to love you and love you and love you? That you just wanna try and say I don't even say all I ever did you hard, but all I ever did in life was just to love you and love you and love you. And I'm focused on my music, leaving town, I'm taking trips. Yeah, had the time to check my phone and I choose you to quit it. Whoa, saying that you love me, but you don't anymore. Trying to make this right, but my heart is torn. Yeah, no, you broke me down. No, you did it right. My knees are on the ground and then my body taking flight. And you really like my sound, saying that my voice is nice. So I'm gonna use a song. I'ma make you cry tonight. Yeah, I'ma make you cry tonight. Girl, why you trying to cause some love this pain when all I ever did in life was just to love you and love you and love you? You saying all I ever did you harm, but all I ever did in life was just to love you and love you and love you. Torn apart, break me down, make me drown, play my sound. Yeah, there is those certain things that cross your mind and make you think you're in my head. I need another drink. I was trying to play it safe, but my feelings run a race. I shouldn't never show up to the tape, or maybe I'll be happy to this day until my hair is gray, but I'll die young. I tuck my gray. I'ma make you cry tonight. Yeah, I'ma make you cry tonight.
Join our free behind-the-scenes music community at www.songwritershow.com. Network with other artists, songwriters, and producers, and get feedback on your original music. That's www.songwritershow.com.
I want to thank both guests tonight for being on the show. As we know, this is January, and because I release a new song every single month, I thought it'd be very appropriate for this month's song to be Happy New Year. So we're going to close the show with you listening to my brand new song that came out last week and the music video that came out today called Happy New Year. I hope you've all had a Happy New Year, and I hope you have a great January, and I'll see you here next week on the Songwriter Show. Thank you for listening.
Government officials insist that this an isolated incident.
At some point you need to get on with your story. You need a fresh start. Today you listen with your heart. When the clock went tick-tock, you promised to stop making hate. Waiting for midnight to drop, you swore no more silly mistakes. And today, the newborn year is here. A sweet paradise without tears. A fresh start, so we're toasting the new year. Happy New Year. Let's be grateful for what we have while we have it. Isn't it great that we get today to celebrate? When the clock went tick-tock, you promised to stop making hate. Waiting for midnight to drop, you swore no more silly mistakes. And today, the newborn year is here. A sweet paradise without tears. A fresh start, so we're toasting the new year. Don't you know resolutions don't stick? If you try to change the outside without changing the inside, they just don't. They don't. Newborn year is right here, a sweet paradise without tears. It's a fresh start, so we're toasting the new year. The newborn year is here, a sweet paradise without tears. A fresh start, so we're toasting the new year.
Thank you for listening to The Songwriter Show. To keep the momentum going, head over to www.songwritershow.com and join our free music community of artists, songwriters, and producers. That's www.songwritershow.com.